Why do Canadians seem to transform in wartime? Most people know Canadians through a familiar stereotype: polite, friendly, and famously apologetic. But history shows that when war begins, these calm and easygoing people can become some of the most determined and ferocious soldiers on the battlefield. During World War I, Canadian troops quickly gained a fearsome reputation, especially for their deadly trench raids. In the brutal environment of trench warfare, one of the most terrifying experiences for German soldiers was being on the receiving end of a Canadian raid. To move silently through enemy lines, Canadian soldiers often blackened their faces and wore thick rubber gloves. They carried a variety of handmade weapons designed for close combat, including spiked clubs, knives, and brass knuckles. These weapons allowed them to eliminate enemies quietly and efficiently. When stealth was not necessary, they used pipe bombs and grenade launchers to storm enemy trenches with explosive force. Canadian raiders were known for their speed and relentless aggression. In some operations, they advanced as far as 1 kilometer behind enemy lines. German soldiers, shocked by their ferocity, gave them nicknames such as Stormtroopers and Wild Colonials. Their determination was especially visible in the months leading up to the famous Battle of Vimy Ridge in 1917. In just 4 months, Canadian forces conducted more than 50 trench raids to weaken German defenses. One of the largest raids involved over 1,300 soldiers. Even though they suffered extremely heavy casualties, some units managed to capture and clear large sections of German trenches, despite intense resistance and gas attacks. The reputation of Canadian soldiers for ruthless combat also grew during this period. Brutal conditions, constant danger, and the loss of comrades often fueled intense battle rage. In many cases, soldiers were pushed to their emotional limits, which sometimes led to acts of extreme violence against enemy troops. Another factor was revenge. Canadian forces had experienced some of the earliest poison gas attacks of the war during the Second Battle of Ypres in 1915. The devastating effects of these chemical weapons left a deep psychological mark on many soldiers. By the end of World War I, Canada had transformed from a relatively unknown military force into one of the most respected and feared armies in the world. This reputation continued into World War II. On June 6, 1944, Canadian forces were assigned the task of capturing Juno Beach in Normandy. Facing strong German defenses, thousands of Canadian soldiers stormed the beaches under heavy fire. Despite suffering significant casualties, they managed to break through the defenses and push inland faster than many other Allied units. By the end of the day, Canadian forces had achieved many of their key objectives, proving once again their discipline, determination, and battlefield effectiveness. Canadian soldiers also served in elite commando units, such as the 1st Special Service Force, a joint American-Canadian formation known as the Devil's Brigade. These troops were specially selected for their physical toughness and outdoor survival skills, with many recruits coming from backgrounds such as hunting, logging, and mountaineering. After intense training in weapons, explosives, and mountain warfare, the Devil's Brigade became one of the most feared commando units of the war. One of their most famous operations took place in December 1943 at Monte la Defensa in Italy. The mountain had resisted multiple Allied assaults for weeks, but in the early hours of the morning, hundreds of commandos quietly climbed the steep mountain cliffs under cover of darkness and snow. Within just a few hours of intense fighting, they succeeded in capturing the heavily defended position, ending a month-long stalemate. Stories like these helped cement the reputation of Canadian soldiers as disciplined, fearless, and highly effective fighters. The contrast between Canada's peaceful image and its soldiers' battlefield intensity remains one of the most fascinating aspects of military history.